Hi Mini Jow. Hey Poo Turd. Hey Kickslap. Hey Mystical. Hey Walpooza. Hey Solus. Hey Mr. Rat. Hey Cole. Thank you for the tier 1 sub for 10 months. Hey Jellyfish. Hey Janishi. How are you guys? Oops. Forgot that I can't minimize that if I want to be able to see chat. Hey. Good, and you? I've been doing pretty good. I'm probably gonna sound pretty like low energy today because it's been kind of a pretty exhausting couple of weeks. I'm gonna sound kind of low energy. I'm fine. It's been an interesting, definitely been an interesting couple of days, weeks, months, for sure. But other than that, I'm good. I'm healthy. Peach is good. Peach is healthy. So, you know, take what you can get. Just went on holidays. Hope you had fun. Pretty good. Long week classes at 12-hour days on Monday and Wednesday. I remember those. I remember having pretty rough, like, specific days of the week where you'd have a lot of classes. And it's like, wow. I wish I didn't have to be at school for 10, 12 hours, but that's fine. No variables. Thank you for the tier 1 sub for 8 months. Okay, and also, for as long as you've been around, I've always read your name as Nova Reables or something like that, and I didn't realize until I literally just pronounced it the way I did that your name is just no variables, like that's it. But I kept reading like the Nova part first, and then the rest I was just like, yeah, you know, whatever. My brain just kind of stopped comprehending the rest of it, but it's no variables. It's so much easier to say. Erinoe, hello! Shinobi, Striker, happy Friday? Yes, happy Friday, for sure. Getting plenty of sleep? No. Actually, no. Keith, hello! Hey, Louila. I always struggle on your name, too, but just because I can't pronounce those specific, what is it, like vowels very fast, but hello. Hey, Sunburns, I'm doing okay. I am. Hey, Alakugain. Okay, so I wanted to find a piece of art that I could just use for the stream announcement, whatever. But I haven't drawn a ton of art lately for that's not like super, you know, NDA, so I kind of wonder what I can use. I might use some of the concepts from before. Yeah, I really haven't drawn that much lately. It's kind of nuts. I just, you know, how do I explain it? I don't often want to talk about, like, how I'm feeling just because it usually feels like, oh, you know, people don't really ask for that kind of stuff. When you ask someone, how are you generally just say, I'm fine. And that, like, covers all of it. But, you know, highs and lows, generally. And it's been a weird kind of low for a while now. But in particular, this past week has been pretty tough. Just kind of like busy and then also like emotionally kind of tough. But you know, like that happens, and I'm working through it. But yeah, so if I sound tired and or just kind of low energy, I am tired, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm in a bad spot. I'm just kind of, you know, this is actually more authentically me, I think. When I am at this kind of more mellow state. Not to say that when I'm more energetic, I'm not me. but you know, you kind of ham it up a little bit when you have to perform. And I think I'm a little too tired to perform, but it's okay. Happens, you know. Hey Gabby, hey Little Sky, hey Neil. Thank you. Hey Brenny. What's on my laptop? It's just like Spotify, you know? Because we're always listening to some kind of Spotify playlist, so I figured if I put Spotify on there, maybe it would add to the ambiance. I do want to make a new one, though, at some point. Cause I feel like we could do with a change of pace and come up with something like a new vibe for the stream. But that will have to happen at some point later. I guess I'll just use this one. Hold. Sorry, I'm currently writing the whole I'm live streaming picture, so that's why the screen's still off. But I also kind of just wanted to talk to you guys. I feel like you know, I'm always drawing, so I'm always kind of split attention, I guess. I try to answer questions and stuff, but it's kind of hard just to like talk when you're doing other stuff, and I'm very bad at multitasking, so it's kind of nice just getting to talk to people, you know? And I want to hear how all of you guys have been. I always want to be streaming. Like, you know, there are obviously days where I'm like, oh, I don't really feel up to, you know, like talking with people. And there's definitely been kind of a recent feeling of like, I don't know if this makes any sense, but this is the idea, like, I don't have enough space in my heart right now to like talk to people. I don't have enough space in my heart right now to converse or empathize or anything. I'm, you know, there's like that kind of weird feeling. So there are times where I'm like, I probably, you know, shouldn't stream today. I don't know if it's gonna put me in a weird mood, but you know, oftentimes when I do end up picking to stream or choosing to stream, I always end up having a really good time. But you know, there just inevitably might be some days where it's like today, where I'm gonna be kind of low energy, a little bit less, I don't know, like usual, but we will get through it, because these are also the only times during the week I can really draw for myself. So it's also good for me. It's nourishing for the soul, for the creative soul, to be working on stuff outside of, you know, what I do for most of the week. So in a way it's also a break for me. How to get motivated to get back into drawing? You know, I know people, it's weird, because I have like mixed, I have mixed feelings about what to say in that instance, because, you know, I would like to tell people that it's okay to take the time to not draw. It's okay to not draw when you feel like not drawing. But at a certain point, you also kind of have to realize when that is sort of a fear or just kind of a lack of motivation, a lack of inherent desire that gets away from, you know, you feeling or you needing the time to rest and when it becomes more of a reluctance and avoidance thing. I can't tell you when that is for you, when that isn't. Because I think it will ultimately depend on, like, do you care about art enough to get back into it? For some people, when they hit that point, they don't. They recognize that art's very much kind of a once-in-a-while thing for them. And that's fine. But if you really do care about art, if you really want to get back into it and it's something you actually want to do, then it'd be a good idea to kind of reevaluate why you got into it in the first place. How does that change, you know, how does that change, like, I guess, the stakes for you? Is drawing a way that you communicate with other people? Is it a way that you express your ideas when you have them? Is it a case where, you know, you have all these ideas but you struggle to express them? Is it you have a lack of ideas so you don't know what to express? Or is the case that you're kind of hitting a block, a fundamental technical block that prevents you from drawing, so that when you do draw, it becomes a cycle of kind of reinforced helplessness, where you don't feel like you can, you don't feel like you should, it feels like you are, you know, maybe just not cut out for it. What is feeding that kind of reluctance to get back into it? Because honestly, going through phases of not wanting to draw is really normal. I think it should be something that we talk about as being normal. But you have to decide for yourself if what you're feeling right now is... What did I just do? I made this whole tweet and then I just deleted it right in front of my eyes. This is why I shouldn't multitask. You know, you have to figure out for yourself what it is that's really happening here. Whether or not it's a just kind of like, hey, I'm really tired, I don't want to draw. Okay, cool. Or if it's sort of like you need to find new reasons to draw, new reasons to get back into it. Or if it's a matter of, you know, you aren't looking at the right stuff, you aren't getting yourself interested about it anymore, you're not really excited about it anymore, which means, okay, so I should start looking at other artists, different artists, ones that I haven't seen before, ones that I haven't always been looking at, new styles, new directions, new eras of art, maybe getting into art history, getting into a different subgenre of something else, like historical fashion, looking into prop and weapons across history, or looking at anthropology. You know, all these things are ways to reassess why you're doing art and if you really want to be doing it. And it makes the question hard to answer because people have so many different reasons for not drawing. Some, I think, a lot more personal than others. So it really is up to you to decide why you feel reluctant to draw. Okay, all I was trying to do was add like a heart emoticon to this tweet, and I just instead just deleted it. Why did I do that? Okay. Okay. I still have to do... That took me so long. What the heck? Okay. Sorry. Art school is kicking my ass. It kicked my ass when I was in school, so I feel you. Haven't caught up with a stream in a while. It's been a while since I've really streamed, so it's totally good. Hi TBSat. Did I go to art school? Yes, I did. And you know, there's something I've kind of like learned about like learning and going through art. And where is my phone? Oh, there it is. Going through art and I guess like learning to learn. Something I've noticed is that when you're really struggling to learn something, sometimes all you really need is to take some time away and not think about it. Because, funnily enough, sometimes the act of you overthinking it, the act of you being, super hyper focused and trying to figure out how to adapt this to your work, how to put this into your pipeline or workflow, trying to adapt this technique to make it a habit and stuff. Sometimes just by like noodling that idea too much and getting too focused on it makes it harder to understand, and giving yourself time to kind of just like simmer and accept that knowledge and then return to it later on actually helps you learn it better, faster, deeper than just kind of hoping that it sticks the first time, Sorry, I'm still making the post because this takes ages. We're good. We're fine. We're all right. Okay, let's see. Any tips for adding personality to characters? I'd say that personality usually comes from a kind of like a combination of things, I guess. It's a combination of your character's general features, their posing, the expression they have on their face, the clothes that they wear, the way that they conduct themselves, how they choose to hold themselves when they're talking, doing random things subconsciously or consciously, and in the tiny ways that the way that they act differs from other people, differentiates them, and that's kind of how you build personality. I talk about this in my class course that I did, but having all of those elements work together to kind of support core attributes of your character is kind of how you emphasize their like themes, the core attitude, the atmosphere around them. Someone who is super incredibly anxious, maybe really naive, will dress differently, talk differently, they'll pose differently when doing standard stuff like standing around or talking to people than someone who is incredibly loud, maybe even dramatic. It's stuff like that that'll really, change how someone perceives that character. So it's a mixture of a bunch of things. And, that's not to say that you can't just draw your character in whatever pose you want, but it really depends on what you're trying to convey, what's more important to you in that moment in time. Okay, so we've got an interesting request. I don't know what this character is. They're a league champ, but they want a chibi version of the female version of this league champ, so we're gonna figure out how this goes. Where's my tablet pen that I've lost conveniently? If you saw line work you wanted to replicate, what's the most time you've ever spent on replicating a style? What, like personally? I really spend too much time doing it. Like, if I'm gonna do a style study, or if I'm gonna do a master copy of something, it's however long that master copy takes. I don't know. I think it's a lot less rigid than that. It's not like I really ever studied a style and then just did that for like a week or a day or a couple hours. It's like, if in the moment I want to, I need to, I feel like it's helpful to me, I will. But very often I'll just kind of, after that, move on to whatever else I want to draw, whatever else I need to do, because I don't really feel like I want to like be, I don't know, I don't want to like focus on that kind of stuff. So I can't really say if there's ever really like a certain amount of time that I spend on that kind of stuff. Yeah, of course. I never really thought of myself as much of like an educator of any kind, but I don't know. I do like, at least if people want my perspective on stuff, I'm happy to give it. 'Cause I don't know. I think art as an art form doesn't really benefit when we, I guess, inadvertently gatekeep access to information and knowledge, the way that we've had. So hopefully, you know, in these streams where, because I'm not really active online much anymore, and I don't really go into stuff like super hardcore content creation. I'm just kind of not really in that space or headspace anymore. So hopefully these streams are a place where you can get some of those questions answered, even if, you know, it's not exactly the one that you hoped for. I will do my best regardless. I feel like this is not the same brush that I've used for the other ones, but I don't remember the other ones used. Did I watch Lightbox Expo? I did not watch it. However, I did do a talk with a couple of friends of mine who were who run their own mentorship kind of Discord. So I would recommend checking out Resolution Art Studio if you can. Run by some lovely people that I know, Dylan and Chelsea, who are also very much in the kind of arts education space. And they invited me to, or they hosted kind of like an Ask Me Anything session where me and a couple of other professionals like just talked about our experiences and answered questions for people. So it was really fun. And there's a recording of it, I think, on Dylan's Twitch channel, which you can find links to in their Discord. So it was very fun. I really enjoyed it. But that was the only Lightbox-esque thing that I did. Ever wanted to learn another language? I think you might have answered this before. Yeah, I just don't think I'm really the kind of person where languages comes easy. So, like, I have friends who are just like, I'm gonna learn Korean, and then, you know, in a couple, like, months to years, they're like, yeah, I'm like near fluent. It's crazy. I've always struggled with languages. I just don't I discovered I don't really have the brain for things outside of art. Like, I feel like my brain has atrophied in a way so that if it's not a direct related question to art, my brain's just kind of like, what's answers? I don't know. Like, earlier today I had to Google how to read a ruler because I was like, I don't remember how to read this stuff. And I'm hilariously bad at mental math. It takes me ages to arrive at the wrong answer. Just like basic human skills, I feel like I don't have. And as much as I would love to learn a second language, I think I just kind of don't have the brain space and the mental capacity to even consider that right now. But I would love to learn a lot of languages, including my first language. I would love to learn again because it was Chinese. I am not fluent by any means. I can only really understand when people talk to me in Chinese, but I can't really say that I have that same skill level of comprehension anymore. And it'd be cool to be able to talk to my mainland Chinese relatives, but yeah, if I can't even relearn my first language, I don't know what luck I'm gonna have learning another one. How's the D&D session going with my team? Okay, so we had the Avatar tabletop thing that was kind of more based on Powered by the Apocalypse, if any of you guys have heard of that type of game. That one was really fun. We kind of ended it sort of loosely because that game's technically on Kickstarter right now. It's not out. So there was kind of a part of the campaign that was very much based on like, okay, so we're gonna kind of have to wait for the rest of this to come out at some point. And then if you're talking about the actual Dungeons and Dragons campaign that I'm a part of, that hasn't started yet because none of us are around at the same time at any given week. So I'll let you guys know if anything happens with that. But otherwise, we're still kind of waiting. And plus, it's been kind of busy lately, so none of us have really had time. What's your opinion on when people say to not do your hobby as a career when it comes to art? I decided I wanted to do art as a career a year ago, and these opinions have been confusing me. So, the reason why people say that is because when you start commodifying your passion, when you start making hobbies into business practices, it is challenging to sometimes separate the kind of struggles with the two. They say it out of love, as all advice is, usually, but ultimately what they're saying is that if you want to do this, you should be prepared, right? If you want to make your hobby your job, your career, then you should be prepared to have your passion and your faith and your, belief in that career choice. You should be prepared to be challenged by the work that you do, the struggles that you'll come across. And in a way, it's just kind of, it's a veiled way to say, like, I hope you're sure, because ultimately, like all things, art, in a general sense, is challenging. It can be challenging to make a living off of this. Not to say that you can't, but it is not simple, right? It's not guaranteed. It can be hard to work on projects that you find fulfilling. It can be hard to find coworkers that you find inspiring. It can be hard to feel like, you made the right decision joining an industry that ultimately does not really have your best interests in mind. And, especially if you go into more kind of tech-based industries like games, a lot of those sentiments are often kind of forced upon you. You have to really consider what your answers to them are. But as someone who has made their passion, their dream, their career, not like I had a choice, but I don't regret it. I don't think there's any other way for me. I don't think there's any other option for me. And as difficult as it might be, and as hard as it might sometimes get to have commodified what I love doing into something that I have to do all the time, I still will never regret that decision, because I think I would be actively so much more miserable doing anything else every single day than, just kind of trying to make what I'm doing currently work. That's not a choice that everyone can make. That's not something that everyone can say they can be okay with, and I think that's fine, right? You get to make that decision for yourself. For me, though, I think art's something you kind of have to be dedicated enough to make work. And especially if you want to do art as a career, I think it's smart, it's wise to make it that important for you. Obviously have some boundaries when it comes to professional stuff. You don't have to give your all to everything, and in fact, I think it's even smarter to know when to put a lot of your passion and your excitement and stuff behind a project. But I don't regret it. A lot of people I've talked to, the bad times suck, but at the same time, you get to meet a lot of really good people, really like-minded people. So, make that decision for yourself ultimately, but if you take it from me, I think it's worth it. What's the hardest part of art school? Art school is a very beautiful lie. Because the point of school, really, is to give you kind of a last bit of space to kind of, hopefully mature a little bit more, learn some skills you might not have been able to in general education, and start learning like what you'd kind of want to do, or try out some stuff that you've never tried before inevitably they kick you to the curb because they only wanted you around for 4 years. Art schools are beautiful lies because they protect you and they try to raise you for a couple of years, and ultimately they will never be real, true interpretations of the real world. School has never been true to my experiences working in an industry, in games in particular. They try really hard, for sure, but either it's outdated or no way to replicate the feeling of having to really work with other people and solve problems and of that nature. You can't really get that from a school experience, and I can't say you get that from any other experience than just, you know, kind of preparing for what you can accomplish, and hoping that when you do end up getting into the industry, when you do end up getting your first job or your first internship, kind of just going with the flow and problem solving where you can, and fending for yourself. This isn't to say that school is just never gonna, you know, be helpful, because I think it can be. It just ultimately, I don't think is what a lot of people assume it's going to be. It's not going to be the place that gives you all the answers that you want. It's not going to be the place necessarily where you'll find all of your lifelong friends. I certainly didn't. Well, okay, now that's a lie. I did find some lifelong friends, and I am proud to have met them, and I'm proud to have gone to the school that I did. But it's not going to be like it is in the movies, where, you know, like, you're definitely, every person you're gonna meet is gonna make a difference in your life. It's ultimately going to be however you treat it. It's going to reflect however much effort you put into it. And so I'd say, if you want to go to art school, if it's something you're planning on doing, know that a lot of it is going to have to come from you. A lot of the effort, a lot of the reward, and the ultimate, you know, I guess benefits of it are gonna be most likely because of your own effort and your own kind of, I guess, drive and determination about it. Because I've seen a lot of people go through art school hoping that at some point they'll find something that is interesting to them, and they kind of just go through it hoping at some point it'll make sense. It very rarely does, if that's how you treat it. After an interview, what was the longest you had to wait for a response? Sometimes they just don't get back to you. Sometimes they just never get back to you. So, if you're talking about how long have I been waiting, a couple of years? But no, seriously, interviews or rather applications, interviews, the whole process. It's not very fair to the person applying. God, I really don't understand how this helmet works. They're not very fair to the people applying. In a lot of cases, you might get a response. That's kind of just like very PR-esque, but oftentimes I just don't say anything. So I don't know. I've heard of places like Riot and Blizzard stringing on people for almost like half a year for giving them like any word on, you know, what ended up, what is, you know, are you employed or not, you know. I've heard half a year. I've heard like a couple of weeks. I've heard them reject someone 1 year, and then 2 years later they're like, hey, we need someone on this project, are you free? So yeah, there's a lot of ways that they might employ for an instance like that. Hey, Potato. What do you think about art school, especially in this era where technology is everything now? I think art school art school still has value. in the way that I think some people just kind of need to be in a space where a certain type of personality could be collected. They would benefit from meeting the kind of people who would go to a school of the nature that they picked, and that's kind of why it's important to consider what kind of environment your school is fostering, because that's kind of part of the sell. You're hoping that the school that you pick also picked students that add to their student culture, not subtract from it. How can you tell what that is? I don't know. I think it's almost impossible to tell, really, until you've experienced it. But when it hits real well. The ability to find and meet people from all over the world, with the kind of, sole interest in getting a career in art. It's an incredibly interesting, incredibly exciting thought. But for people that can't afford to go to school, for people that aren't in a position to go, are kind of predisposed to not be able to really get or gain any benefit from being there, I think technology has done something really good for arts education. I think technology has done something really great for art in general, because art is no longer limited to people who can, afford to make it, afford to know the right people. Now, people who are on social media have a decent chance at having just as lucrative and just as stable of a career as someone who went the traditional way of going to school, getting a degree, going into a studio, whatever. I think it's done something great, but it's not for everyone. It's certainly not for me. So I am very happy to have gone to a physical school. I'm very happy to have met the people I met there. Very happy to have met the teachers that I had. And ultimately, I had a very good experience, despite the fact that I ultimately did not finish my education there. I still don't think I wasted my time. I don't think I wasted money. And I think I left at a good time for that to remain the case, even after I've left. How's your time working with Tencent? Did they require you to speak Chinese? Do overseas companies pay less than companies in the US? I can't really speak to the last question, because pay across any project is a variable that depends on the company, depends on the nature of the request, and depends on kind of their respect for you, I guess. I would say that the pay that I received was comparable to ones that I received in the US. The studio itself was looking for a freelance contract concept artist. So it wasn't like I was employed by the studio, and the studio themselves were not necessarily Tencent themselves. It was a subsidiary of Tencent that acted on their behalf. And so they contacted me, and they were an English-speaking studio, and I assume that is the case for contacting artists that don't natively live in China, or seem to, on their social media, speak Chinese. So I did not have to speak Chinese to work with that group. I did not have to negotiate different levels of pay. It was ultimately the same. I think partially because companies as big as Tencent are very used to working with international companies, so there's no reason for them to, necessarily change how they act. That doesn't mean that there aren't companies that don't take advantage of the fact that they're working with potentially foreign artists, and especially in places like Venezuela and a lot of South American artists are taken advantage of quite significantly because of the value of their money and their currency compared to other countries. So, in a way, it was good that what they were paying me for, the amount that they were paying me, was comparable to what I normally receive here. Do you have tips on making certain things you need to study interesting? Like anatomy is boring to me, but I know I can't avoid it. I think studies shouldn't be boring. They shouldn't have to be things that you dread doing, that you dread working on, because I don't think you should be making your studies out to be something that you wouldn't want to do anyway. Whenever people talk about doing studies, I always try to frame it like, okay, well, why can't your study just be something that you were going to work on anyway? Why can't the study that you make be a character that you wanted to draw, a piece of fan art that you wanted to do? Why can't, you make things that are interesting to you part of your education? It's stuff like that, I think, that has always bothered me about people who take studying very seriously, because it was always separate from stuff that they actually wanted to do. It was always like, okay, well, once I get good at this, then I'll do stuff that I'm actually interested in. But they do all that stuff and ultimately just never make it to the thing that they're actually interested in. It's interesting. I feel like I just kind of fundamentally disagree with that way of learning, because for me, I like drawing, and it's kind of a shame to spend all that time drawing and not enjoy it. So for me, at the very least, I think I've always just kind of tried to make sure that anytime I was studying, I was also, doing it in a way where I was making art that I actually kind of wanted to draw. So anatomy, maybe I would do that kind of the classic study of like, oh, let's learn the muscles and the bones and let's do some figure drawing. But then I'd also just try to apply those same lessons to when I'm drawing my own characters, or when I was drawing, whatever I wanted to draw, and reinforce those values whenever I could, as opposed to just restricting that kind of experience to only when I was making studies and only when I was choosing to say, like, I am now studying. It just felt very antithetical to me. Hey, creative. I had to find a daytime non-art related job. Any advice for continuing working on my portfolio while working 42 hours a week? It's tough. I don't know if I can necessarily be someone who could give you really helpful advice on that topic, because I don't have to live the experience, or I haven't had to live the experiences that you have to live. So I think there are much better artists that you can ask about that. But honestly, in the times that you do have, I could say maybe just trying to figure out, like, okay, so coming up with sort of a long-term schedule of what is the project I want to be putting in my portfolio, what pieces do I think I'm missing, and just kind of incrementally working towards those projects in the spare moments that you do have. Not killing yourself and overworking and spending too long on it, but potentially regulating some of your free and open time to kind of dedicating out a small hour every couple days to working towards that. I don't know how viable it is. I don't know how your schedule, if your schedule can have that kind of flexibility, because again, like, I don't have your same life experience, and the best I can just say is that ultimately you only really need one or two really good pieces in your portfolio to really make a difference. Huge portfolios with tons of work is not necessarily better than a couple of good pieces that really show off a caliber of skill or the right skill sets for the job you're trying to get. So it's not so much about quantity as it is about quality. So that's kind of, I guess, the only thing I can really say. I'm currently self-studying the art fundamentals. I feel like I'm taking too long to learn anything at a time. I also feel very rushed to get good as soon as possible, since I'm interested in so many different kinds of art and also not art-related things. Do I have advice on the best way to learn? is the same as asking me if I have advice on the best way to live. It's ultimately going to just depend on what is best for you. I think we all feel very rushed to be better than we are because we have so many examples of people who are better than us in this given time frame. And in a way, we will always feel that way because there will always be other people reminding us of how much more we have to go. I don't know what to say in order to help you curb that pressure, because I feel the same pressure, I've felt the same pressure, and I don't necessarily know how to not feel it. Other than kind of limiting the amount of times I think about other people while I'm working on myself. That's kind of why I've sort of receded from kind of online communities, talking with people, social media at large, because it's hard to concentrate on stuff that I really want to work on, and it's hard to concentrate on the skills I'm trying to develop when I'm super concerned about how fast I'm going or where I'm at compared to other people. And, you know, I think, yeah, sure, there might be some ways that you're kind of not learning the fastest you could potentially learn. There might be some ways you can make that more efficient. Maybe even looking to get into, you know, being personally mentored by someone, or signing up for classes, or expanding who you're learning from and how you're learning, and trying out different techniques, different styles of learning. All those things are perfectly viable, but I also think a vast majority of times that people feel like they're taking too long, or they're not fast enough, is almost entirely because in their head, it doesn't matter how much more effort they put into being good or being better, they're always going to be too late because they weren't there already. Ultimately, it's a losing battle to think of ways that you can be faster, because you never will be. You'll never be fast enough for your brain to say, okay, that was fine. That was good enough. I've done a good job. You have to just kind of look for ways for you to be able to say that to yourself, and say that you can, you know, recognize the small victories that you have made, the small progresses that you have made, and look forward to a future not dependent on whether or not you can match up to other people. Because ultimately, yeah, yes, Peach. She's mad that I don't pay attention to her when I'm working. Hey, Peach. I lost my train of thought, but I think I made a point at some point, so. I'm working on responding to comments. This past couple weeks have been kind of a flurry of preparing some other stuff for the class. But I am going back in and hopefully trying to alleviate a lot of the missed comments that I haven't been responding to. I should not be the person you ask about networking. I absolutely despise it. Can't do it, don't like talking to people. And I've never really been to networking events. I only have one cat. I assume. I don't know who these people are. League is beyond me. Did I ever find myself having to learn something completely new for a job? Yes. Quite often, actually. I think something that isn't really talked about enough is that, especially in concept, but really for any job that you do, you kind of also have to take responsibility for the things that you don't know how to draw. Whether that means learning it on the weekends, trying to learn it on the fly on the job. Not only are you responsible for knowing things that you're hired for, but you have to be responsible for filling in the gaps that maybe is missing on the team or missing from your own skill set. That peach? What knocked my bookshelf suddenly started to rattle. That you might be missing, and people don't necessarily talk about that as a skill you should have, a skill that's useful, but it's been the main skill that I've needed to use most often, is being able to isolate, like, okay, so this is a part of my skill set that I'm missing that would really help me on this assignment, and I'm gonna need to figure out how I'm gonna learn this in time to try and make the most of it. Doesn't always mean that you're going to be the best at your job, but at the very least, you'll be far more prepared for when those instances happen, which is actually quite often. I try to stream at least once a week. Lately, it hasn't really been the case for a multitude of reasons. But my goal is to stream at least on Fridays. There are times, though, where I'm too tired for that. Didn't they used to have a pole dancing move? Do I answer or give feedback on the class 101 course? Yes. So, I've been pretty bad about it for a multitude of reasons. And so I'm spending the next couple weeks trying to catch up on a lot of the backlog for it, because we've been working on some stuff behind the scenes for the class, and with that and working multiple jobs, it's been kind of a nightmare trying to make sure I stay on top of that. So, but yes, the goal is to give people feedback on their classwork and stuff. So that is definitely part of the course. Where and how do I find mentors? Although it makes me wonder if I want a mentor to remind me if I've improved, since I find it hard to celebrate things for myself. There are a lot of people that, like professional artists, will sometimes do classes or offer mentorships as part of a collective. So I guess it'll ultimately depend on if, what kind of field you're looking to go into, because a lot of them offer mentorships specific to a very specific field. Let's see. I know Warrior Painters is a pretty popular Discord for artists. I'm not in it, so I don't really know what they do, but I have heard that they host classes and stuff like that. There are course curriculums out there available, so you can see if any of them are offering private mentorships. Some people offer mentorships as part of their Patreon. So if there's an artist that you like, you can see if they have a Patreon tier for that. Sometimes, though, people will have their emails open for critique, and you can see if any of them are available for that. Not all of them are, and some of them kind of almost exclusively use that email for business-related purposes, so do be wary of that. I'd say first look around and see if any of your personal favorite artists have any of that kind of stuff available. Then, start looking at for any like public art resources, like educational platforms or Patreon or places like, I don't know what they're called. Things like Schoolism. I don't know if Brainstorm does mentorships. Anyways, like online kind of like educational spaces, and see if any of them are advertising for it. I only recommend mentorships because I think it's really beneficial to have like a teacher be able to really focus on your own development, because everyone's kind of different. They are often pricier and a little bit less available than just classes, but if it's possible for you to get one with an artist that you really like, I do really recommend them. Well, it's hard to quantify. A lot of questions, whenever they ask, like, how long does it take? How much time does it take? How many skills do you need to learn? Ultimately, there's no way to answer those questions, because how do you quantify a job that changes with every day? How do you quantify being good at a job which every studio has a different definition for, and every week you have an assignment that was definitely not in your job description, and every game has a different need for a different person, for a different personality? It's difficult to say when you are a professional. It's hard to say at what point do you know enough skills to be a good concept artist, because a lot of spaces would consider me very not at a professional level. And then there are places that would consider me a senior level concept artist. So, you know, who's to say which one's more correct than the other? I'd say when it comes to concept art, the skills that you should have are primarily being able to iterate and ideate in terms of design at a decent pace, to the point where you can share those ideas and confidently convey them to people through your drawings, through your sketches, and be able to quickly, you know, come up with multiple solutions to the specific problem of a certain character design or a you know, prop or landscape or mechanic in a game, or whatever you're working on, efficiently to the team so that they can move forward and carry on that conversation. A professional concept artist should know how to solve a multitude of problems, or at least have the tool sets available to solve any problem that they come across that's creative. So whether that be a decent understanding of the pipeline of game design, or I'm speaking from game design specifically because I work in games, a understanding of the pipeline you work in, an ability to kind of communicate solutions to people that takes in mind, like, you know, presentation skills, being able to succinctly describe complicated abstract concepts to people, being able to present those ideas in a deck, being able to give them actual nice presentation, being familiar with a lot of different spaces, so anything from UI to basic composition in film, basic cinematography, being able to, you know, understand some form of kind of scientific process, so knowing the basics of engineering or some kind of technological engineering, being able to, you know, research different things that you don't understand, getting into history or science, doing historical research, being able to convey that research as well, comprehend it, analyze it, adapt it to whatever you're working on, doing anything from, or being able to position yourself to be prepared for when you have to work on a sci-fi thing versus a fantasy thing, knowing where your strengths lie and knowing when to supplement those things. There's a lot of various abstract skills that go into the concept that isn't just, hey, can you draw something really well? It isn't just, hey, can you render this really well? And it isn't even just, hey, can you draw really fast? Ultimately, concept artists and a lot of artists in general in the fields are problem solvers. You give them a creative problem and they solve it for you. That's why people hire them. Concept artists are often at the forefront of that process because they're there to give physical evidence of an idea. They're there to create something ahead of it being created, and often there to help people understand what is it that they're actually conveying to people, what is it that they're thinking in their head, so that when you're talking to more people that are involved with the process, like investors, producers, outsourcers, different team members, they're not just kind of talking about different variations of an idea. They're talking about a single idea that exists on a page because you put it there. There's a lot of stuff that goes into concept. Some people have all these skills, some people don't even have like 10% of them. All of them can be equally as successful as concept artists within a field, and all of them can be considered professional, even if in a given circumstance they couldn't fulfill the same, you know, job descriptions, job needs as someone else. I'd say if you want to be a professional concept artist, you should have a basic understanding of being able to draw forms accurately, being able to convey things with average, appropriate proportion, being able to draw a variety of items, props, things to an adequate level, and if not, being able to use reference to get you there, and beyond just the technical stuff. Being familiar with generating ideas, with generating outcomes, potential options, taking someone's idea and driving it into a place that they didn't think was possible to give them options in that. Being familiar with how to, you know, present your stuff to people who aren't creatives. These are basic skills I think all concept artists need. How do you grow from that is very specific to what kind of concept artist you want to be. And that's why it's hard to say. How long does it take to be a good concept artist? How long does it take to get it to be a professional? At what point do you consider yourself a professional? At what point do all of these skills become necessary or, you know, kind of extra to your job description? It's hard to tell. You know, I think concept is very niche in that aspect. No wonder my thing shook. Crockbow, thank you for the tier 1 sub for 3 months. I need to still trying to avoid that kind of male classmate in class. I mean, if you're in class, the only thing you can really do is just avoid those people. Unfortunately, I wish I could say it gets better when you start working, but you can never really tell. Even people that are very kind, very understanding, very progressive can still be, in their own ways, very much like those types of people. And it doesn't mean that they're bad people, but you can't really tell when things are, you know, really okay if you're actually in a safe space or if you're really just on the edge waiting for one thing to go wrong. When you're in school, ultimately the only thing you can do again is to avoid those people. Tojo, I wish I could say that worked. But he is right. It's good to attempt at the very least to, if they actually do stuff that makes you uncomfortable, that you think makes everyone uncomfortable, then you should say something about it. But sometimes you just have to hope they change. I draw more often now because I work, but does that count as drawing if it's not for myself? Because if it does count, then I draw most hour of every day. If it doesn't count, sometimes it's 0 hours every day. I should. I don't. Which is why the get up and stretch reward is there. I will get up and stretch momentarily. You should... I really don't recommend, like, trying to qualify putting school on the back burner just because you're going into a career that doesn't really put grades at the top. Like, you know, some people just struggle through school. It's just kind of how it is, right? But, like, if you can, like, just develop the skills to, you know, apply yourself in school when you can. I think being good in school shouldn't be something that you just kind of not do out of, like, belief that it doesn't matter. Because, like, yeah, in art in specific, your grades don't necessarily matter, but you might as well try and build good habits and learn how you learn while you're in school. So I'd say, and some people might disagree with me, but I'd say that having good grades in school is a good thing. You don't have to be the best, like, you know, most 1% type of person with the best grades, but, you know, like, have a decent track record. Go to classes, do your homework. Like, those are all good skills to have. It teaches you time management, teaches you how to handle your life once you're not just doing schoolwork, but you're doing, like, client work on top of homework at the same time. If it wasn't for the fact that I remembered how to manage my time when I was just doing homework, I don't think I would have been able to get through school and work multiple freelance jobs at the same time. I hope you enjoy being here, Cucumber. I mean, that's a matter of priority, right? Like, when I was in school, I got really good at learning, like, okay, how do I get this done the fastest, most efficient way possible? How do I study in the most efficient way possible for this test so that I can spend the rest of it drawing or doing whatever? Like, that's kind of a part of learning how to manage your time, is also learning how to fit time into what you also want to do. Granted, I don't know where you go to school, but the school system does do a terrible job of giving kids enough time to pursue passions. And so it's not like I'm gonna stand here and be a high horse. I wasn't that great in school. I mean, I was like an A student, right? Not an A plus student, but I was like an A B type of student. There are certain classes that I prioritized over others, mainly because I enjoyed them more. I thought they were more useful to me. And there's some classes where I was just like okay at them. I did the homework, I did the tests and stuff, but I wasn't brilliant. Like, struggled through physics and chemistry, did perfectly fine at stats, even though I didn't make it to calculus. I did like honors English or whatever, or AP English or whatever, but never did the AP sciences because I wasn't good at them, or the maths. Um, Perfectly fine in you know most of my classes, and that's all you really need to do. I feel like something's missing, but I can't tell what, and I don't know what that would be. Oh well. He has wings? Since when did this when did this guy have wings? All the time, I guess. Apparently he's always had wings. Do you want wings, Jazzy? It's up to you. Sure. Those wings are not very... potato. Okay. Let's see. What's the next one? Let's see. That is not a question for me, unfortunately. Hello. with the studio. I just stumbled upon their stuff and it reminded me of your characters. I'm not about or affiliated. But their stuff is just too good to share. Wolf Smoke? I don't think I've ever heard of them, no. Have you heard of how China is moving to ban certain representations in media? Do you think this will affect the Western industry here through animation films with all the ideology for economic? I don't know. Money speaks. I guess we will see. It's a mix of both. Sometimes I'll draw something new, sometimes I just won't really have the time, so I'll use an old sketch for that stuff. The one I did for today was an old sketch. I used it because it was of my character, so I was like, okay, well, I can use that for now. But a lot of the like chibi drawings that I do for the live streaming alerts are often drawn specifically for that live stream. Yeah?
Did you feel an earthquake?
Yeah.
I did not.
I my table just shook, that was all.
Huh?
My table just shook, that was all.
When did this happen?
Like 40 minutes ago? It was really small. It like stopped right afterwards.
That's so funny. Cause I had my phone on airplane mode because I was like I need to study, and then I
Uh-huh.
go on, and everyone's like, "Did you feel that earthquake? My house just shook," and I'm just like,
Yeah, I remember my bookshelf shaking and then my mic shook, but then it was gone. And I thought Peach like bumped into it or something.
"Well, that explains." So Lily freaks out like a few minutes before an earthquake.
Was she freaking out?
She was doing like her and Peach were running, and I was like, "That's weird. I'm gonna cook anyway." And I fucking had my headphones in. Oh, that's weird. Okay. I usually feel that. Maybe I was too much.
4.6 earthquake in Carson. That explains it.
Very strange. Okay.
Wait, I keep forgetting. PK, is that you PK or is it a different PK? Do you used to stream? Why is it called PK Plays? Or did you just think it was a cool name? Hmm. Wait, you're driving? Why are you typing? Don't type. If I see you say another word, I'll I'll do something. You'll be timed out. Hello. I can upload the ones that I've missed. I tend to forget, but I can. I just don't know if some of them are like private or not. Like, obviously I draw them on stream, but there's sometimes people are like, you know, oh, could you not post this because you know this was a gift or something like that or whatever, and so I always forget. But I can definitely post some of the other ones. I haven't drawn in a couple, like, I haven't done just drawings in a couple weeks, and it really does show. I am struggle busting my way through this. Oh, my roommate made ramen, and I don't know, I've never felt like this has never happened before, but like every time we make ramen in this house, it like sticks around, and the powder that you use to make the soup just like makes us sneeze all the time. Do I have a picture of my cat? Do I have a picture of my cat? Of course I do. Let me see if I can find some. Let me see if I can find a recent picture of Peach. Hello? Why is it not copy pasting? So rude. Okay, hold on. Let me just share. Observe. Maybe I can find another one. I send a lot of them to my partner, so I'm trying to see if I can find any in our Discord chat. Oh, we talk a lot though. I don't know if I'm gonna find any more. Oh wait, actually, a perfect situation. I sent a bunch of cat pictures to my friend. Ain't she great? Also, my favorite is when she gives me the side eye. She gives me the side eye all the time. It's like her default emotion is her just side eyeing me. Um, so this is my favorite. And also, so I Peach is like a super cute cat, right? Like I really do like I love Peach. She's so cute. I feel like 90% of the time I get pictures of her looking extremely cute, right? But then I'll get pictures like this. Which is, you know, she's I love getting really stupid pictures of Peach. It's my favorite. You know, you get the juxtaposition of this to this, and there's really nothing. There's nothing better. But yeah, no, this is my cat Peach. She's doing really well. She looks different in every single photo. But there's a progression of weight. So some of these are when she was at her heaviest. She was a chunky lady. As you can see, the fluffed cheeks. But recently she's lost a lot of weight, so you can kind of see her actual face. She has a very small face, so you can actually see her face kind of through her fur now. But yeah, that's my cat Peach. She's amazing. I love her. I am always happy to show mine, because she's probably the best decision I've made this year, honestly. Even if she's a war criminal, even if she commits crimes on the daily, even if she looks as if she has no intent and there are no thoughts in her head, I still love her, unfortunately. Yeah, so technically there are two cats in my house, but the other cat is my roommate's cat. I personally only have one. But yeah, it's been a while since then. I got my cat in was it end of January, end of February? It was at the end of one of the January, February. And I finally got permission to have a cat. I looked around for a bit, and I mean, technically I'd been looking for a cat for like a year at that point, but I didn't really want to, look for and actually get a cat until, all of my ducks were in a row. Um, but, yeah, so really happy. I did adopt Peach. Yes, she was a rescue, a local rescue, and uh, she came with a bunch of anxiety and trauma, and we've been working through it. So I can confidently say she's a lot better now than she was. At the time when I adopted her, like you couldn't hold her. She'd run if you tried to pet her, and if you even so much as looked at her, she'd hide. But now, she takes pets like a champ. Still working on getting held. I kind of try to hold her a little bit every day, and she's been doing better about it, but, she still wants to leave. She doesn't eat like a fiend anymore, so she has lost weight, but she still tries to sneak nibbles and snacks from my roommate cat's food, and that ends up upsetting her stomach, and then she throws up, but then she goes back and eats more, so she's still stupid, don't worry. But yeah, so she's been pretty good, I'd say. Yeah, and it kind of sucks because I really do want to hold her, but I mean, I think it is good for the moments that like I do have to pick her up to either like put her in her carrier or something. Um, but I do wish she would cuddle with me. She lets me cuddle with her in other ways though, so it's okay. Like we've started doing this thing where lately I've been really tired, and so sometimes I'll take a nap during my lunch break, and if I get on the bed, Peach will immediately come running into the room and get on the bed with me, so she has her own little pillow next to mine, and we'll fall asleep together. But if she if I'm staying up late, she will sometimes try to wait for me to finish. So like there are times where like maybe I don't go to bed at all, and she'll get grumpy at me because she's awake because she's waiting for me to go to bed. And so, you know, she'll just stay up with me until I finally go to bed. That's like the small ways that I know she actually likes me, because otherwise I was worried like, oh, does she actually think I'm annoying or I'm bugging her or something. But yeah, we have moments. Peach has absolutely no concept of anything, which I think is great. She has no concept of of what she puts me through, really, with her poor choices, her criminal behavior, and her really stinky poops. And you know what? I'll still do anything she wants. I'll still give her anything she wants. My entire paycheck, I work to support my cat. What do you mean have career goals? What do you mean look towards the future? I work so I can buy my cat the like $1.99 hair ties because she refuses to play with the actual toys I bought her. Instead, she tracks down and then hides my hair ties. She really has. She really has enslaved me in some weird way. And you know, you know what, Peach? It's all for you. A modulation of speed, pressure, weight, and I guess like flow and stuff. I'm trying to be very specific about how I'm placing these lines. feel like this is too short. So I had this idea, and this isn't like set in stone just because I've kind of only been thinking about it and I haven't put anything like it into action, but would you guys be interested in like kind of podcasty episodes where I invite maybe like coworkers or friends of mine that are currently working in either like the industry or like in other fields, and like bring them on for like a stream and you can like ask them questions. Like some of them could work in environment, or biz dev and stuff. I feel like I can't really I don't know, like uphold a like a chatting stream myself, but those streams I think would be a lot easier for me because drawing is kind of exhausting at the end of every week. So I was thinking potentially I could invite some people over. Like Draftsman, sort of. Like I feel like Draftsman has its own flow because Stan and Marshall have had such a history together, and you know, a lot of these people I've known them for a few years or I work with them. But a lot of it would kind of be driven by like ideas from you guys, like your own questions about stuff, because you know, I have my own experiences, but that doesn't really mean it's true for everyone. So I was thinking of potentially inviting some people over, and asking them for stuff. So if there's like, I don't know, like what are you guys interested in hearing from? Because I don't actually technically know a ton of like character designers authentically. Like a lot of my friends are like 3D people, viz dev artists, environment designers. Could ask like illustrators, potentially some freelancers. But yeah, I don't know. If it does happen though, I'll definitely like tell everyone like who it is ahead of time, so you can kind of think of questions and write them in the chat or something like that. And I will also try to come up with questions for them as well. But yeah, like what would you guys be interested in hearing about essentially? Because you know, I don't necessarily know what I would ask these people because they're my friends. So I kind of know maybe like how they respond. Hey Jason. Different journeys before taking on professional work. Okay. Yeah, I want to do some more variety type stuff, like even if it's just, you know, talking with people. It alleviates some of my pressure because there are some weeks that I don't really want to like just draw and stuff. And I figured it might be interesting, if anything, like if I am still drawing, just to have someone else talking and engaging with chat and stuff could be cool. Oh god, I can't play and also talk to people coherently at the same time. Perceptions of the industry before and after? That's a pretty good question. Yeah, I could even bring like people that actually have just like worked on games, like maybe they're game designers or something, not necessarily just artists. Um, yeah, I'll have to ask, see if anyone's interested. I could do that. I don't know what games I'd play though, honestly. I would like to stream more often. I just feel like I don't really have very much to offer outside of drawing, so I never know what to do, I guess. I feel like a lot of the people who watch me are just, um, people who watch the stream itself, like me drawing, or people who come to ask me questions, but I don't know really how to keep a conversation going. What was it like attending LCAD? Is that a question for me? I liked LCAD. I will rant about Peach for as long as people don't want, because honestly, outside of work, like my life is kind of taken over by this stinky rat in my bed. She adds so much to my life now, especially because she's starting to develop a personality. And turns out her personality is being a bitch. Because she just does stuff where I'm like, Peach, have some thought. Have some intention, okay? Have some like courtesy to your roommates. But no, she's just straight up a criminal. She drops like chemical warfare in her litter box, and then she has the audacity to commandeer me when I'm not giving her attention. So I will complain about Peach all the time because I love her so much. Second year student at LCAD right now, and I'm enjoying it so far. I'm glad. I think, like, it's really easy when you talk to people about art school to kind of have them talk about like all the sucky parts, but if you're enjoying a school, like, that's great. Like, that's exactly what you should be experiencing, and just having a good time, either with the people that you go to school with, or just on your own, feeling like you're in a space that you can really like grow and kind of figure out, get answers to the questions that you have, and also figure out like where you want to go from here on out. So I'm glad you're having a good time, because I really do think that I had a good experience at LCAD, despite some of the unfortunate parts. But I feel like whenever people ask me about school, they are always waiting for me to say something terrible about it. So I'm really glad to hear that you're having a good time. Looking through the pro boards forums and saw your props for, oh my god. Actually, I really like that class. I know a lot of people I went to school with didn't like modeling for game, because, and a lot of them were concept students who figured like, oh, concept artists don't need to know this, but like legitimately taking that modeling for games class and also fundamentals of 3D, like those classes I think were the most valuable for me, because it helps me communicate with my 3D artists. It helps me communicate with modelers, and not sound like a total idiot, because the process and the pipeline for 3D, especially if you work in games, is so crucial, because as concept artists, your work usually does not make it to the final game. You are always just kind of trying to help everyone else get to that point. And so being able to talk to people about like ways to interpret a concept or bring them into the actual game and pipeline or engine, talking to VFX artists and talking to you know, the modelers or the texture artists, and being able to communicate on a legitimate, like, cognizant level, because, you know, I don't understand all of it, and I don't understand, like, all the new parts of their pipeline, but I can at least be able to say, like, oh, I know what a texture map is, I know what emissive is, roughness, metalness, I know the basics of low poly, like, going from high poly to low poly, baking the details from the high poly into the low poly. Like, I get that stuff, and I know the basics of rigging, I know how that works. Having that baseline knowledge has been invaluable as a concept artist, and I feel like a lot of people feel that, like, that's not the case, because it's like, oh, I'm a 2D artist, why are you making me do 3D things? It's often the skills that we don't actively use all the time that end up being the most valuable. And I'd say 100% those classes were fantastic, and I really ended up enjoying modeling for game. It's such a different mindset making 3D models. I felt like I could actually, like, have a task where I wasn't always 100% thinking. There were some times where I could just turn off my brain and just clean up my vertices and work on my textures. It's like, it was actually a really nice experience. So I would definitely make the most of that class if you can. Plus, if you have what was his name? Don's great. Like, I know a lot of people give him a lot of flack for being kind of rough around the edges, but if you do what he asks of you, like all of the teachers, he's a great guy. The unfortunate parts, yeah, I had a couple of kind of rough experiences, primarily just, like, from between, like, students and stuff. I didn't really, I feel like I was acquaintances with most people that I had in my classes. Like, I could have a conversation with them and stuff, it was fine. But there were some instances where I kind of butt heads with some of the students there, usually over kind of just, like, difference in opinion about certain teachers and how you should deal with that difference in opinion. I generally loved all of the teachers that I had, and I thought they were really good at their job, but there was kind of a sort of weird emerging culture amongst some of the newer students that were freshman or sophomore in my year that just kind of didn't share that same respect for teachers, and I had a really big problem with that. So there was a fair amount of them that, like, didn't like me, which ultimately didn't really end up amounting to much, because I kind of just left before I finished my time there, and before I had to spend too much more time with them. But it did kind of sour my, I guess, like, feelings about some of the people there, because I don't know, I really didn't agree with how they were treating the professors we had at that school. And yeah, it was unfortunate, but I still think the teachers I met there were some of the best. I think I grew up a lot there, enough for me to be able to, like, go off and do my own thing. So I think my experience there was really valuable. How am I feeling going to training for midnight? I'm gonna probably stop around 10 p.m. for sure. I'm currently enrolled in art school. I don't necessarily like the way they teach, but art friends were good because I never had any art friends before then until COVID. Now I'm a shut-in. Yeah, I'd say, you know, it's kind of a hit or miss. Sometimes your teachers are the best, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes your art friends are the best, and sometimes they're not. I'd say, you know, if you have people that you really care about, that you think really add to your experience, then do your best to keep in contact with them. I'm really bad at keeping in contact with people. And there are people at SCAD that I met, my first school that I went to, that I wish I kept in contact with better. But yeah, art school's kind of tough. It's a little bit all over the place. You I don't know, you either kind of just have to roll with the punches, figure out what is kind of the breaking point for you, whether or not you want to stay at a school, or, you know, if a school is really the right fit for you. It's really hard to say. But I feel like I had a really fortunate experience where I was. Yeah, you meet some strange personalities at school. I didn't want it to be the case, but I don't know. There's a point where I just kind of tried to not step on anyone's toes too much. What can a small face convey? Um, yeah, like being delicate or, having like youthful features or something like that. How did I meet Proco? So I knew Marshall Vandruff, the other host on Draftsman, when I was really young because his wife attended a piano concert that my sister played at, and I was really young at the time, and he was still teaching at LCAD, and they found out that I was an artist, and ever since then I kind of like knew Marshall. And it wasn't until I like really went to LCAD and I reconnected with him again, and I kind of just started to know a bunch of people in that same circle around Proco, around Marshall, because they ended up also being, you know, students at LCAD or affiliated with them, and it just ended up being kind of like this circumstantial thing where I ended up being in a position to work on like Proco stuff. And I did the podcast first, so I did the Draftsman podcast first, and then he had asked me to make a video for his YouTube channel. And yeah, so that's kind of how I know him. Yeah, I know Taylor. Are you taking his class? Does he? That's funny. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that his class had to go online because of it. I think Brainstorm is. Yeah, I think they're all gonna be online, but. Oh, really? Yeah. Can you hear it now? Okay. I pretty much always have music going, so if you can't hear it, let me know. No. I very rarely go painting in general. It's like the one thing I've never really picked up at all. Kevin, stretch. Oy. Oh. My headphones always get tangled up. I always like have the urge to yawn. Whenever I stretch. Can I hydrate for you? I will. Hey, Bible studies for 20. (11 by 17 inches at 300 dpi). My tried and true size. I never draw smaller than that. Been drawing a lot of things at like 30 inches lately. But 11 by 17 is a great size. Yeah, actually, my work computer is quite strong. I don't know how strong, but it's apparently, according to my friend who actually builds computers and is familiar with computer parts, it's a rendering workhorse, apparently. My work supplied it, so I would not be able to put together these parts myself for sure. Although I do want to make or to build my own personal computer with comparable parts to the one that I have right now. Because technically I'm not supposed to be doing like personal stuff on this computer, but I literally don't have it in another one, so I need to build one. I work at a third-party work-for-hire studio called Protagonist Games. Yes, unfortunately, the piece that I need is sold out everywhere. Starting digital art. I don't really know. My default answer would be like places like YouTube, where they can kind of walk you through like what programs would be good for you to get, how to start. Unfortunately, digital art does have equipment requirements to be able to do it, so I really don't recommend trying to rough it out with a mouse, like getting an actual tablet or investing in an iPad or something like that. All of those are good options. But yeah. Are you like a total beginner? Like, don't have anything at all? Or do you at least have some pieces of equipment? Like a computer or a laptop, an iPad? Small Intuos are not great. I have a medium Intuos, a medium-sized Intuos, and it's my favorite. But yeah, it's already pretty small, so I can't imagine what it's like having a small one. I'd say upgrading to a bigger size when you have the funds for it is a good idea. You don't have to stick with Wacom. There are other brands. I have to say, like, when you get cheaper brands, sometimes you do end up paying for cheaper product. Like the XP pen that I was given, because they wanted me to review it, is not great quality, in my opinion. And I don't know if it's just indicative of all screen tablets, because I don't own a screen tablet. It's the only one I have. But I definitely did not draw on it for very long. So, I don't know. My personal preference, I think, still is non-screen tablets. I think I'm just used to how like using them and stuff. But yeah. Hi, Starly. How's my Friday been? It's been pretty okay. We've been trying to put this like towel hook up in our bathroom because we had command hooks there before, but they ended up falling, and we put them up there because we didn't want to drill into the wall, but they ended up tearing some of the drywall off, and we're like, we would have made less damage if we just drilled a hole into this wall. So we're trying to set up, or like put up some hooks for our towels, because there aren't any in the bathroom for some reason. But we ended up we bought this hook that's like really nice from Home Depot, but it came with wall anchors that we thought we had to put in, and these wall anchors immediately just did not work, or these wall anchors just immediately did not work. Like, we put them in the wall, and then we tried to screw in, or tried to drill in the screw, and or even just hand screw it, and the wall anchor would just like immediately slip out. So we had to go and get more wall anchors, and then it just became this whole thing of like, oh, what size do we get? We don't remember. And then there are no studs in that wall that we were putting them on, so we couldn't put them into studs even if we wanted to, because it's in a weird position because the bathroom's really small, so there's only really one place that we have to put them. And then so yeah, we finally got wall anchors that we think are good for it, that don't need to be put into a stud, that we're hoping will work. And yeah, so we're gonna see if that works. We did that all today, as in getting new ones, because the past couple days we've been trying to put it in, and neither of us really know how any of this stuff works, so we're just like, wall anchor, drill bit, like we had to buy a drill, and then we're like, oh god, we need drill bits, and then we're like, oh god, these wall anchors don't work, and then we had to go to the hardware store and like, oh god, we don't know what size it is. It's a mess. Yeah, I'll let you guys know if it ends up working out, because I would really like to not have my towels just sitting on the toilet, like, thing, the little thing in the back of the toilet. They've just been sitting on there because we literally don't have any space for both of us to have our towels. See, we can't do that on our door because our door slides as opposed to open, or else we would have done that. Yeah, it slides open. All of our doors slide as opposed to like having hinges. Yes, Peach. Do you need butt scratches? Yes, Peach? Yes, Peach? They do have locks on them. So you slide them closed and they have little locks. Kind of finicky sometimes though, so usually like me and my roommate just understand like, oh, if the door's closed, someone's in there. But there are locks on the doors. Actually, strangely enough, my door, my bedroom door, right? The bathroom door locks. My bedroom door is the only one with a lock. And we heard from our landlord that it was because the previous tenant, their roommate had a problem of just walking into the other person's room. And just like, you know, whatever. So they had to get a door lock. But this door does not lock very well. Like, you have to like, it like, when you try to turn the lock, it just pushes the door away from the wall because it's not aligned right. So I have to like, and there's no handle on it, so I kind of just have to dig my fingers into like the little spaces and then just like pull it forward and then hook it onto the wall, because it's just not aligning. And I'm like, this lock really sucks. Like, what if I have to like quickly lock my door or something like that? Or if I need to like get out of my room and I locked the door the night before. It's just not gonna be easy to get this door unlocked from the wall. So, I don't know what kind of lock they used, but it's real jank. And I don't even know if it works. But, yeah, so this house has had an interesting history with locks. Yeah, I'd appreciate it. We're desperately hoping for them to work, because, you know, we're not getting our security deposit back, so we might as well make that the holes useful. But I will definitely keep my options open. Yeah, I have so we have like two doors because this place used to be a house and then they converted it into like a kind of a townhouse, I guess, or something. I don't know what they're technically called. But like they divided the it's like a 2-story house that they divided the bottom floor and the top floor. So there are two doors on the bottom floor. And I mean, they just go essentially to the same room, but one of the doors is like nigh impossible to open and lock because you have to like pull it as you're locking it, or else it will like not line up with the actual thing the lock goes into, or you need to like, I don't know, just it's such a nightmare trying to get in and out of that. And then like when you try to pull the knob, you have to like pull it a lot so that it actually like, moves. It's such a weird door, and the other one's fine. Like the other one just opens closed like a normal door, but yeah, we got a finicky door as well. Just a bunch of stuff. But you know what? I don't really have to confront them at all because I don't often leave the house. So otherwise, it's a pretty nice place to live. So it's like it's nice. Although kind of sad that I'm gonna lose my security deposit probably. But you know what? I want my bathroom towels to dry. Damn it. And those command hooks, we're not cutting it. Yes, Peach? Yes, Peach? Night, Luna. Thank you for coming. I will get up and stretch. Thoughts on Moogles? Disgusting. I did! And then I tried again, and then I couldn't make it at the top. But I did make it that one time, and I want to try it again, because I need to get that one, what is it, sightseeing orb at the top of the lamp post in Kugane, right in front of the tower. I need to get it, and I want to get it the proper way, so I'm gonna try and do it again. I did end up, actually let me show you. I did end up falling off and getting to like a spire on Kugane Tower that actually ended up looking pretty sick. Let me see if I can get a good picture. I'd say it's like just hard enough to make it cool and fun. I would really love to get another jumping puzzle in Endwalker somewhere. Let's see. Why can't I capture that window? I guess I'll just have to share my screen. So here's a picture I took with my Dragoon, because obviously you have to do this Dragoon pose when you're on a spire. But I landed on this like really cool like point on the on one of the little like extra I don't know how you describe it. It was like, oh, it's right here. It's like on one of the little random spires that they had, and it actually ended up looking kind of cool. I was pretty happy with it. So I got to take some nice pictures of my Dragoon and all of his glory. But yeah, it was very fun. So I heard Dragoon just got a pole dancing skill. Honestly, I lately have been really enjoying Dancer. I've been playing Dancer quite a bit, and I kind of enjoy it because it's like so much simpler and also just so much more like kinetic. So a part of me kind of wants to just stick with Dancer, at least level that up first. But Dragoon's been my main, like, for most of 14. So part of me is like, I have to go back and relearn Dragoon and get good at it, and then, use it for the rest of it. But yeah, it was weird because I over leveled quite significantly for a lot of the expansions. So for a lot of the expansions, and so I ended up finishing Dragoon like right when I hit Shadowbringers. I hit 80. Thank you. And so after that, I was like, okay, well, I hit 80 on Dragoon, so I'm gonna go and level my my Dancer, because that was like the closest one I had to 80, because it starts at 60, I think. And I loved it, but then I ended up leveling it way too fast, and so then I finally caught up with the MSQ, and then I immediately over leveled it. So it hit 80 again when I was only at like level 74 in the MSQ. So I had to go back and I had to go find another class I wanted to level. And so now I am playing Machinist, which I'm really enjoying, actually. And I'm debating what next class I want to level after that. I'm debating between Bard and Summoner, and potentially going and getting Ninja, because I really do like dual blades. Oh, the live letter was today, huh? They can summon the primals? What? I do really like ranged DPS. I tried Samurai after I leveled Dancer, and it was actually hell. They do, which is not the interesting part, you weeb. Kino, you weeb. Ooh, that's pretty nice. The primals? That's so cute. I believe so. Final Fantasy has a habit of bringing in things from previous games, so there are characters that are named the same things. Like there's a Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse in every game. There's a Sid in every game. So since it's 10, I'm probably gonna end it here, but let's see if there's anyone that we can raid. Who's streaming art right now? Oh, wait, I don't want it. Oh. Cintiq is streaming. I wanna raid someone who doesn't have a ton of viewers. Have I drawn my FF14 character before? I have, not in his current form though. He's kind of different. Oh, I'm sorry, Silver Soul. Hopefully I get to stream again next week as planned. Who has some good stuff? Oh, this artist is pretty good. Let's do this one. Yeah, thank you guys for coming. Let me organize this thing first, but yeah, so I'm probably gonna end the stream here just because I kind of wanted to chill tonight after work. But yeah, thank you so much everyone for coming and hanging out with us. Thank you for chilling with me. I really appreciate all of you guys being so kind and dropping in every Friday. But yeah, I am hoping to get back into streaming at least somewhat regularly every week, at the very least on Fridays. So if that's something that's interesting to you, definitely tune back in around then. I'm gonna continue working on charity commissions until we're done with them. So there's definitely a lot of stuff, a lot of drawing to look forward to in that way. But yeah, I'm gonna raid this channel. They seem to have some pretty cool art, so hopefully you guys can, you know, give them some love, compliment them, give them a follow potentially. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I love you all so very much. Please take care of yourselves, please stay healthy, and I will see you all next time.